The BFG by Roald Dahl. This is the chapter 2, the first video of that chapter. But of course, before we start chapter 2, I have some questions to ask you. The first question is, if you have a longing to do something you can't, like, I don't know, eat a lot of chocolate and you can't, but you have the longing to do that, what do you do? Answer? Well, that's a personal question, so I'm not going to answer that. Question. Describe the street when Sophie looked out of the window. Answer? Well, the street was misty and dim, and the houses looked bent and crooked, right? Like the houses in a fairy tale. Question. What could you buy in Mrs. Rance's shop? Answer. Well, you could buy buttons, wool, bits of elastic, etc., right? The narrator doesn't say etc., but of course it's the store didn't sell just those 3 products, right? Question. What animal do I have to have in order to get wool? Answer. I have to have a sheep, right? Question. What's the difference between a dimmer switch and an on-off switch? Answer. Well, with the dimmer switch you can control the intensity of the light, right? The on-off switch, of course, you can't. Question. Why did Sophie freeze? Answer. Because she saw something coming in her direction, something that was very tall, very thin, and very black. Very nice. So let's go to the second chapter, that is called Who? It wasn't a human. It couldn't be. It was 4 times as tall as the tallest human. This is a construction I would like you to keep in mind. As tall as. Of course, there is a little complicator here, but let's ignore that for a moment. I can tell you that I don't know if exactly, but let's imagine it is. This book is as thick as this book here, you know? Maybe not, but if I want to say that they have the same amount of pages, I would say that this book is as thick as this book. This is comparison of equality. I could say, for example, that this book, this red book, is thicker than this book here. Then we have a comparison of superiority. Okay? Let me give you one more sentence. I don't know. My brother is as tall as my friend. As tall as my friend. So my question is, make up a sentence using this construction. As, adjective, as. Answer. Well, the thing is, in our story, the giant was not as tall as the tallest human. Could be. The tallest human in the world was this size, and the giant were this size. Then the giant would be as tall as the tallest man. But that's not the point. The giant was 4 times as tall as the tallest man. Got it? Okay. It was so tall, its head was higher than the upstairs windows of the houses. Sophie opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Her throat, right? Like her whole body was frozen with fright. Fright is like fear, but stronger. It's like a terror. Her whole body was frozen with terror. This was the witching hour, alright. We use this alright to say like for sure, you know. Let's imagine you want to do, I don't know, you want to pass MIT. And MIT is a very important university in the United States. And then you say, oh, I've heard MIT is difficult. I say, yeah, it's difficult, alright. Like Harvard, right? Harvard is difficult, alright. Right? Or you ask me, I don't know. I've watched a movie called, I don't know how it was translated to English, but to Portuguese it was translated to as Satan Tango, you know? And then you ask me, is this movie long? I say, it's long, alright. The movie is 7 hours and a half long. That's for real. It's a very good movie. Well, that's not the point, but alright. So Sophie was like, this is the witching hour, alright. Of course, there's a black creature walking on the streets. The tall black figure was coming her way. It was keeping very close to the houses across the street, hiding in the shadowy places where there was no moonlight. Shadow, remember? I don't know if I have any shadow here, but no, because I have two sources of light. But I don't know, if the light is here and the light hits a body here, the shadow will be on the ground here. Remember that Peter Pan was always trying to catch his shadow. His shadow would run away from him, right? So a shadowy place is a dark place, a place where there is shadow. So it's interesting because this black figure was keeping very close to the houses across the street, and he would hide in the shadowy places where there was no moonlight. On and on it came, nearer and nearer. But it was moving in spurts. Spurt, most commonly like a spurt of water, you know, like psh, and then it stops, okay? So he would move in spurts, like he would move very fast and stop, move very fast and stop, move very fast and stop, right? Of course, he would stop in the shadowy places and move very fast in the lit places, right? So it was moving in spurts. It would stop, then it would move on, then it would stop again. But what on earth was it doing? What on earth? On earth is an expression. What on earth do you want? What on earth was it doing? Aha! Sophie could see now what it was up to. What are you up to is like, what are your intentions? What are you going to do? So now Sophie could see what the giant was up to. It was stopping in front of each house. It would peer, it's like look, you know, I don't know, through a gap, for example, it would peer. It would peer into the upstairs window of each house in the street. It would actually it actually had to bend down to peer the upstairs windows. That's how tall it was. He was so tall. Remember, the text is calling it's calling him it, because I don't know if it's a monster, if it's an animal, right? That's how tall it was. It had to bend down, you know, to bend down to be able to peer through the window. Not the downstairs window, but the upstairs window. That's how tall it was. It would stop and peer in. So let me just reread it non-stop, see if now everything's okay. It wasn't a human. It couldn't be. It was 4 times as tall as the tallest human. It was so tall its head was higher than the upstairs windows of the houses. Sophie opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Her throat, like her whole body, was frozen with fright. This was the witching hour, all right. That tall black figure was coming her way. It was keeping very close to the house across the street, hiding in the shadowy places where there was no moonlight. On and on it came, nearer and nearer. But it was moving in spurts. It would stop, then it would move on, and then it would stop again. But what on earth was it doing? Aha! Sophie could see now what it was up to. It was stopping in front of each house. It would stop and peer into the upstairs window of each house in the street. It actually had to bend down to peer into the upstairs windows. That's how tall it was. It would stop and peer in.